This episode of Oops the Podcast is brought to you by Roman Swipes. Most guys have tried different ways to last longer, but thinking about saying the Pledge of Allegiance in your head or counting backwards from 10 doesn't always work. The folks at Roman, an online men's health company, are changing the game with Roman Swipes, the secret to longer lasting sex. Roman Swipes are a clinically proven way to last longer in bed. They're effective, easy to use, and fast acting, but they don't require a prescription. Roman can ship swipes to you in discreet, unmarked packaging, and each swipes packet is small enough to hide in your wallet for whenever you need it. Swipes are great. They will not transfer to your partner, so you can last longer without worrying. They're super easy to use. Just take the swipes out of the packet, swipe it on, let it dry, and you're good to go. That's it. When you go to getroman.com/Francis, you get your first month of swipes for just $5 when you choose a monthly plan. If you use the link getroman.com/Francis. That's getroman.com/Francis.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Yes or no? Did you ever take banned substances to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
I had no prior knowledge of the planned assault on Nancy Kerrigan.
I am deeply sorry for my irresponsible and selfish behavior I engaged in.
Hey everybody, it's Oops the Podcast again. You know us at this point. We are, 6 weeks in, 7 weeks. This is our 7th episode. We're growing at a steady pace. This is our 8th episode. This is number 8, and we're sorting everything out. I'm Francis Ellis, and I'm joined by my co-host,
Giulio Gallerati.
Oh baby.
Oh baby.
How are you, man?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm feeling good. I love our Thursday mornings.
Me too. It's great.
Yeah, I get excited knowing you guys are coming over. You know, I have to wake up a little earlier than usual. It's kind of nice. There's a purpose to my Thursdays.
You know, feel that air.
The air's changing.
Actually, you don't get to do that because you live here. So we do this at Francis's house, everybody, and I get the novelty of being able to go outside, have the crisp air hit my skin, while Francis actually has to stay inside and rally.
Yeah, I don't go outside. This morning, something interesting happened, though. Chris, our intrepid producer, texted me at about 9:05 a.m. He's supposed to get here around 10. But clearly the trains never work out in his favor because he shows up an hour early every single time, which is probably a good thing.
It's commendable.
Yeah, it's a good thing for everyone except me. So he shows up at 9:05 and he texts me and he says, "Hey man, I couldn't help it. I got here a little early. Is that okay?" And I'm climbing out of bed. I got in really late last night. I had a really late night set at the Stand. And so I got home at like 12:15. And I've also told myself that before bed, after comedy, I have to decompress.
Dude, I do too.
I've told myself that. I don't even know if it's true anymore. I've never tried to just go to sleep like a normal human being. So I tell myself I need to decompress. And what that means is going upstairs, watching TV, and eating something I should not be eating. Last night I ate half an apple pie.
How big was the apple pie?
Full pie. The kind you'd serve to a dinner of 6 people and people would have seconds.
Wow.
I bought it at Whole Foods. I was in the checkout line. I saw it right there and I said, that looks pretty good. That'll last me a week. Wrong. I'll probably finish it tonight.
What were you watching as you ate this apple pie?
What did I watch last night? I don't even know. Probably something on Netflix, something, maybe a comedy special. I can't remember what I was watching. Something worthless.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the pie, man.
Well, I did. I have a problem with pie. I like pie quite a bit, and because there's always fruit in it, I usually think it's not so bad for me. But this pie had a lot of crust. I know you're not supposed to eat after midnight, or even 10 a.m. Sorry, 10 p.m. You know? So I'm down here. I've come in. I'm in my bathroom. And I'm looking at myself and just saying, brush your teeth. Brush your teeth. If you brush your teeth, you won't eat anything. Brush them. Brush them. And I didn't brush my teeth because I wanted to save my teeth for some pie.
Were you smoking the weed pen?
I did. Well, yes, I did.
That'll do it.
Yeah, I lose all my rational thinking. My willpower goes out the window when I'm smoking the old weed pen. Dude, speaking of weed pens.
Dude. The pen game is crazy these days.
You got to fill me in here.
All right. So the vape, apparently a 6th person died from random vape related illnesses, of which we do not yet understand.
Mm-hmm.
It's an epidemic. I'm worried.
6
Everyone
people
that
is
I
not
know,
an epidemic.
I know, but unknown deaths.
And also, I think a lot of other people are getting sick, so maybe it is an epidemic. I don't know.
Everyone that I know smokes that fucking thing, the Juul.
Really?
Like everyone. I'm wondering, are they just doing an assault against the Juul because they know it's going to end up being bad, but they don't actually know? Like, what's going on?
Well, it's a good question. Think about how long cigarettes flew under the radar where people weren't attacking them and saying these are unhealthy. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
People smoke cigarettes as a fashion statement. They were in vogue. I mean, that whole show Mad Men, right? I never watched it, but Mad Men, we smoked cigarettes in this country for decades before the science started catching up to it. Now, you see someone smoking a cigarette on the street and you're like, that person's got a death wish. They're just committing suicide with every drag.
Right. Or they're just like a social outcast.
Yeah.
Like being cool and smoking is no longer a thing like it used to be.
The only people I know who ask for cigarettes are homeless people.
Really?
Yeah. They're like, hey, can I get a cigarette?
And and you're not even smoking.
And I'm like,
no,
do I
dude.
look like I fucking smoke? Get out of my face, bag man. Fucking look at your skin. It's sallow.
Dude, when I smoked on Tuesday, and I don't usually
Smoked
weed.
Oh, okay, good.
And I just immediately started hating myself and questioning everything I was doing.
Sounds like you're smoking the worst kind of weed, dude.
See, is that even a thing? Because people be like, oh, this is a real mellow high. And then I just start
What about edibles?
not feeling edibles. Forget about it, dude. I just start spinning. I fell asleep before a movie started in the movie theater.
See, that'll
Awesome,
happen to
take
me,
an
but that's
edible.
probably because you're taking too much. I have very dosed out edible.
How many milligrams?
I'll take 5, 10 at most,
Right. That's solid. I
and
think.
I won't touch it again. You know, we've heard it 1,000 times. People eat the edibles, they don't feel it working, they take more, and then they freak out. You just take the 5 milligrams, and then wait a couple hours and see how you feel. And that's kind of my routine.
Well, listen, I feel our official stance on Oops the podcast. I haven't consulted you on this yet, so I don't know.
Okay, you can speak
if this
for
is
us.
our official stance. But I say it is a mistake to smoke the Juul regularly.
I mean, yeah, 100%.
I don't think there's any debating that. Like the people that I know who are smoking a pod and a half a day, they've just developed this whooping cough and they try to blame it on allergies. I'm like, dude, you smoke, that's 30 cigarettes a day, dude.
Allergies. It's September.
You are dying. So, yeah, exactly. Is September allergies even a thing? Allergies, bro.
Yeah, dude. You know, it's bad. The Juul is bad because people are smoking it so much more frequently than they are smoking cigarettes.
Right.
Because think about it, right? What are the barriers to entry to inhalation for a cigarette? You have to pull the pack out of your pocket, then you got to loosen up one of those ciggies, put it in your mouth. Either you have a lighter or you have to ask people for a lighter. And then you look around at the judging faces of all your friends who think, wow, you are homeless. You're one of those homeless bagmen that Francis was talking about. and then you have to exhale it away from people's faces because you don't want to offend them. You got to do it outside. There's so many fewer places that people can actually smoke in America now. We've basically made it really unpopular for people to smoke cigarettes.
Right. Like really expensive. You have to fucking light something on fire.
Yeah.
And then smoke happens and it smells terrible.
Well, that's the thing. I think if they started saying
Complicated.
this is and you've seen some of these signs pop up. This is a Juul-free zone. This is no vaping allowed here. You're starting to see those signs come up. And if we really make it so that you can't Juul vape inside or in certain places, maybe we'll see a cutback. The bigger problem is the kids, man.
I know.
It's the 17-year-olds.
Even younger, man.
My buddy has a younger brother who just graduated from high school, and he said that he estimated 80% of his graduating high school class Juuls.
Jesus.
80%.
And the Juul, you look stupid smoking it, honestly. Like sophisticated adults, and I'm not saying that I'm one of them. I was smoking the Juul for a while when I was quitting cigarettes. I was one of those homeless people.
Oh,
The
man.
Francis is
Here's another Giulio nugget.
Admission.
I was just, well, you know, back. I went from heroin to cigarettes, as anybody does. Well, it was a health upgrade. So to forgive me the cigarettes, but then I went to the Juul, and that's now we're.
You just look like a loser smoking the Juul, sucking on that thing like a fucking wiener. Dude.
Do you think that we sound like old people, though?
No,
that
dude.
young kids would listen to this and say, "That's a parent talking."
We sound fucking smart. I know what you're saying, but no, dude, we're cool.
That's how I'm sure parents thought they sounded when they were telling kids not to. It's like those old Apple Jacks commercials where the dad comes in and says, what is it that you like about him so much? And then they would look at him and say, I don't know, Dad. We just like him. Remember? Do you remember those Apple Jacks commercials?
No, but
we eat what we like.
Sounds good.
And the whole idea was that this dad was so out of touch with these
Right.
kids who thought they were so much cooler than he was. How dare he ask why they like Apple Jacks? How dare we ask why people would Juul?
Yeah, I guess.
Are we so out of touch?
We might be, dude. I'm
Should
thinking
we
back
start
on,
Juuling?
on what we're saying. Should we start sucking down the Juul? We might have to.
Here's the better question. As the FDA heads towards banning Juuls and flavored nicotine pods, should we stockpile an enormous quantity of mango Juul pods and then watch their street value skyrocket and start selling them as the quantity as the or you know what I bet will happen? I bet drug dealers will start making them. People will start manufacturing them on the street.
All right.
That's what's going to happen.
But we will have the authentic pods that we stockpile.
Oh, geez. It's like when Quaaludes were taken off.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there was a limited supply.
Exactly.
God, I love that movie.
Wolf of Wall Street, Part 2,
Yeah.
Juul pods.
We'll be the
will
wolves
accessible.
of Juul Street. The wolves of Juul Street.
The Juuls, yeah, we got to figure that one out. Run the Juuls.
But seriously, though, how come nobody's talking about that? How come nobody's talking about buying up all the remaining shelves of mango pods or whatever the most popular pods are?
I think that's the
mango's
best one, yeah.
the one that everyone likes.
Yeah, they're scarce.
Are they?
Yeah. And when they do have them, they're like $50 a pack.
I bet you they're on eBay right now. I bet you people are selling them on eBay.
But it's hard to find the authentic ones, I think. I think there's like a lot of knockoff ones.
We should go on a treasure hunt. These are like Thai beanie babies now.
Well, listen, guys, if you want to be cool, keep smoking the Juul.
Wow, what a 180 we've got. That
Yes,
was
right?
a complete opposite stance from what we initially pronounced.
You can buy mango Juul pods off of us.
Yes.
Oops, the podcast. Slide in our DMs.
We'll send you a free t-shirt.
We'll send you a free t-shirt with your first pack of mango pods.
Yeah.
We have all the flavors. Original tobacco, perpetually on sale.
Yeah. This
All
is
right,
good.
This worked out.
No, but the other issue that I have is that people are trying to lump in the weed pens with them. And you guys were telling me that weed pens are just as bad.
Apparently,
is that
there's
true?
a different thing with them. It's unclear to me, but the metal, like when you're smoking it, the metal is melting and going into your lungs.
Okay,
apparently.
so then those sound to me like bootleg weed pens. Because I smoke a very good weed pen. I smoke the Pax Era. And that is one you buy at dispensaries in Colorado or Los Angeles. And you come home with 3 or 4, pods in your butt. And and then you clean them off. And then you plug them in. And it's a very clean. That's what they talk about. The guys behind the counter. They tell you how clean of a high it is. It's a very clean high.
Do you actually shove them up your ass?
No. I put them in the boot, like my ski boot or something.
Okay.
Under the sole.
I got you.
Which, by the way, is pointless. You can bring them. They don't fucking look. If I put them in a suspicious place, they're going to find them. One time, when I was flying to France with my girlfriend, I wanted to bring a weed chocolate bar over because we could partition it throughout our week over there. And I broke it up into small fragments, and then I mixed those chocolate fragments in with my hair loss gummies. As if I thought somehow that because those two things were both edible, the fucking airport security would be less inclined to go into my hair loss gummies and take issue.
That's hilarious. So did it melt though? And now your biotin gummies are just getting you stoned?
It's more like my weed chocolate is bringing my ball hair back, is what I would say.
Oh my God.
I'm eating so much weed chocolate that my forehead is getting smaller.
That's the idea right there, my friend.
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
Hair
Weed,
loss
hair
comes to
loss
get you stoned.
edibles. Nice.
Sweet.
Oh, man. I don't know what we'll see. All my friends are talking about it, and my friends are pretty smart. We're in a group chat where they keep up on this sort of thing. By the way, my friends started smoking Juuls ironically.
Oh, really?
They thought it would be funny, and they started calling it whiff. Let me get a whiff. That's what they started calling it. And they started doing it almost as if they were making fun of kids, right? Because they're all 30. And now they're all addicted.
Yeah.
You can't call it any other thing. Even they just invented some silly name to camouflage the fact that they were becoming addicted.
That's crazy.
It was their way of dressing it down so that they wouldn't feel as bad. Because if they called it a Juul, they would know they were no better than those teenagers.
Right.
But they started calling it a whiff, and that was funny, and everyone laughed about it. Let me get a whiff. Hey, who's bringing the whiff? Who's bringing the whiff?
Wow.
And now they smoke it all the time. They all smoke it all the time. So now they're talking about how, the FDA, I think it's the FDA, is going to outlaw them. And it's the seizures. People are talking about this stuff causing seizures.
I mean, I know that they've made me feel really unwell, even when I just smoked it a little. Like I would notice chest pain, and I had trouble breathing, and I was like, feels horrible. I feel horrible from this. My gums were all fucked up.
How often were you hitting it, though?
Okay, so I started smoking the Juul regularly to quit smoking cigarettes, but it was also during a period of time where I was editing something. So I would just sit at the editing station all day long and fucking rip this Juul.
Oh, man.
To kind of, as like sort of something to, keep me level. And it was really shitty at the end of the day.
I drink tea when I have to do stuff like that. I make
a nice
big pot of tea. And you should make it a little less caffeinated or uncaffeinated. Because I know what you mean. When you're doing something that
Tedious.
requires you staying there and not moving, you want to have something to put in your mouth.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Consume. And for me, tea was a good answer. Or grapes. Get a bunch of grapes.
Grapes are lovely.
Yeah, those are nice.
Grapes are lovely.
Well, we'll see. We'll keep you posted. But we're definitely going to go out and buy a whole bunch of mango pods.
Oops, the podcast,
I have a
mango
storage
Juul
unit.
pods.
Yeah. Yeah.
Giulio's.
Nice.
Thank you, Chris, for that one.
Chris over here.
And
love it.
It'll be nice, dude. The package will actually have the same logo from the podcast, but instead it'll have a mango open.
Oh.
Oops, the Juul pod.
Oops. Yeah,
Oops, the Juul pods.
Working title. Oops, the Juul pods?
That's pretty good.
Oops pods.
Oops pods is also fun.
But that's the thing. We call it Oops the pod, right?
Oops the pod.
the pods.
That's great. And yeah, you can pick logos from the show, our faces.
This is sadly, actually, this is the best idea we've come up with so far.
This is the best.
We actually landed on something that works there. This is clever and it has commercial value.
Yeah, it really does.
And now if we don't do it, we're assholes.
It's true, man. And this is great. This is the best way to get them addicted and coming back, and they will continue smoking our product, and we will make a shit ton of money and enrich ourselves at the expense of our audience.
We could do a giveaway, refer 1,000 of your friends to subscribe to Oops the Podcast, and we'll give you a box of mango pods. That'd be pretty nice.
Sick, dude.
All right.
This is great.
So
You were on the road this weekend.
Oh man.
How was it?
I had a pretty rough road swing.
Tacoma.
Went to Tacoma, Washington.
How is it there? What's it like?
Well, it's a beautiful place. Seattle is really a nice city. That's one of those cities where I landed and thought I could live here.
Really?
Before I even got a taste of the town.
Interesting. I've heard that. I've heard it's nice besides the weather.
It's beautiful. But, I think the weather gets overblown. They said it does rain 200 plus days of the year, which is nuts.
It's fucking nuts.
That's
Jesus.
nuts. That's every other day. And really, it's probably closer to 2 days in a row,
Right.
1 day off. But I think a lot of the days when it rains, especially in the summer, spring, and fall, it's a light rain that is almost, in a way, pleasant.
Right.
It's not a driving sideways, cold, fierce, biting rain.
Like
that
a Boston
soaks you to
rain.
the bone. Yeah, it's a drizzling that comes off on showers, light showers.
It's lovely.
That's
A mist.
my understanding of it. But it's surrounded by beautiful water and pine trees, and the topography changes instantly the moment you're 5 minutes outside the city. And you can hike. The whole city is oriented around outdoor activities.
Fucking love that.
I think there's a pretty good restaurant scene, very good seafood. And interestingly, you're not far from some pretty amazing, like if you like to ski, it's only an hour and a half drive to Crystal Mountain, which is pretty cool mountain. And then it's 4-hour drive from Whistler, which is my favorite mountain in the world that I've skied.
Is it amazing?
Oh, it's awesome.
Wow.
It's huge. Humongo. Do you ski?
No, my parents are immigrants. Immigrants don't ski, dude.
What do you mean?
Like, people who are migrating somewhere else to find a better life, they're not thinking about fucking skiing, dude. You know what I mean? My parents were, hardworking Italians or whatever.
Oh, God. Here we go.
They come from hardworking Italian families, and we didn't have time for skiing.
There are plenty of immigrants that came over here from Switzerland or France who came over and stopped skiing in the Alps, and now they ski in Colorado.
Who?
Rich European folk.
Yeah, those don't count as immigrants. Like, they are technically, but they're not like leaving for a better life. They're like, I'm an international person because I'm very wealthy.
Yeah, I guess shoemakers that come over from Belarus aren't checking out the elevation at a local ski mountain. Probably not. Probably not. I still think, though, that you grew up in Connecticut.
Yes.
I guess you're not too far from some of those littler mountains.
We had Powder Ridge,
which
was small.
JP.
Vermont is close.
Oh, Vermont's close.
That's where kids from my high school would go.
Stowe and Stratton.
Right.
We used to go to Suicide 6.
What's that?
There was a ski mountain in Vermont called Suicide 6, which is a pretty tough name for a mountain
Yeah, Jesus.
where you're not trying to kill yourself. I don't know, but that was a small mountain that we used to ski at in Vermont. I grew up skiing in Maine. Man, let me tell you something. Skiing on the East Coast in January is one of the most unpleasant experiences of your life.
That's what I've heard.
The wind blows the mountain bare, and you are skating down the mountain, just scraping on the edges of your skis over ice
Jesus.
and rocks. It is not,
And the mountains are way smaller, right, than the out
much
west?
smaller, and you have frostbite. You can't feel your feet, your toes, your face is destroyed from the wind.
Not as open also, right? Not as beautiful.
Nothing like it. When I started skiing out west, once I graduated from college, I realized what skiing actually could be, which was pleasant.
That's crazy.
But I'm looking forward to skiing this year. I love skiing.
Well, dude, I realize you're a big hiker.
I like to hike too.
We should hike together, man.
Do you hike?
I love hiking.
Do you? You seem like somebody who would bring, mushrooms to go hiking.
No, that's not. That's not me.
Hallucinogenic.
No. I'm not into the nature thing.
I'm still
nature
trying to
getting stoned thing.
I'm still trying to nail you down and figure out where insane Giulio ends and reformed Giulio starts.
That's a fair point.
Because you keep saying things like, well, you come down hard on Juuls, right? And then 3 or 4 minutes into that indictment, you say, well, because I used to smoke cigarettes, and then as I was trying to break that addiction, I became addicted to Juuls. And it's like, well, holy shit, man.
Yeah.
What got you into cigarettes?
Dude, I started smoking cigarettes as an adult. I wouldn't do it in high school. Kids were doing it too, and I wouldn't do it. And then as an adult, I started hanging out with people who were smoking all the time. And it went from bumming one to always bumming one to, I'll just get my own pack, to being a regular smoker for like a bunch of years.
Wow.
Yeah.
You were so how many cigarettes would you smoke a day?
10 probably. And to be honest, like, I don't understand how people were smoking the people are like, oh, my grandfather smoked 3 packs a day. I don't understand how that's possible.
Well, 10.
60 cigarettes.
10 is no joke.
10's a serious situation, dude. I know. I'm happy that I'm
How many are in a
smoke-free.
pack?
20. half a pack a day.
Would you ever smoke? So that means you probably did smoke a full pack someday.
There had very rarely, but it definitely happened. But not often. It would be one of those things where I started smoking early in the day and then ended up going out and was drinking and then smoking a lot. But it has never really felt that great. You know what I mean? It was just a habitual thing. And you fool yourself into thinking that it's easing stress or something.
How hard was it to quit?
Very hard. But actually, shout out Rachel Feinstein. She showed me this book. She's like, read the book. You'll never want to smoke anymore. And I did that. And then I just never smoked again.
What was the book for those of us, those out listening out there who have
I think it's called How to Quit, but it's by a guy called Alan Carr. And I actually accidentally bought the animated version, which makes me seem very unsophisticated. I was reading this like 80-page comic book. But it worked, dude. It worked. I'm just reading cartoons and it worked.
Give us the nature of his thesis, basically.
Basically, it was like making you feel like a weak loser for thinking you needed this disgusting habit to make you feel calm or better or something.
So it's a mental health take.
In a way, yeah. It's like you don't need this and it'll make you smell shitty and you have no self-control and you're going to just make yourself a worse person.
It showed you how others may have seen you.
That too. But it's not even just how others see you, but it's just like your status and how you could and should see yourself because of this habit that you have no control over.
Wow.
Type of thing. And I think there's different things you can gather from the book, but you start reading it and it's almost like people who go to Tony Robbins. They're like, okay, Tony Robbins, okay. And then by the end, they're dancing around and Instagramming themselves dancing around being like, I fucking love Tony Robbins. You know what I mean? It's like if you read it enough and keep yourself open to it, you start drinking the Kool-Aid.
Tony Robbins just got Me Too'd.
Really?
Yeah.
No way.
Pretty sure. Come on, you didn't see that?
No.
Let me confirm that.
Yeah, pull it up.
It was a couple weeks ago.
So, dude, how was your draw for these shows on the road?
Not great. Gary Owen was supposed to be headlining Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Do you know Gary Owen?
I don't know.
Gary Owen is a white comedian who performs exclusively for black audiences.
Okay.
And it's not, I should rephrase that. Black people almost exclusively are the ones who show up to see
Gary
him
Owen.
perform.
Cool.
And they love him. Awesome. He's the most amazingly unique comedian in that he has cultivated an entirely black audience. He's done a bunch of the Medea movies.
Oh, wow.
He's done a lot of work with Tyler Perry. He's done shows on TBS, Ice Cube kind of shows.
Right.
And he's a very funny white dude who, for whatever reason, connects extremely well with black audiences.
God bless him.
Yeah. So he was supposed to come Friday, Saturday, Sunday. He canceled his Friday gig because I don't even know what. And that was 2 weeks before the show. So then the club asked me or whatever, I filled in for him on Friday. But all the people who had bought tickets to see him on Friday changed their tickets to Saturday and Sunday. So I didn't get any of his overflow. And I had maybe 80 and 80 for the two shows.
That's not bad.
75, 80-ish. It wasn't bad. The club is amazing. Tacoma Comedy Club, one of my favorites that I've played in the country.
That's awesome.
They really treat comics well. It was built by a comedian. That's always the big reason. Mm-hmm. The green room had a Pac-Man arcade machine.
Oh, that's dope.
And then it also had buckets of Reese's peanut butter cups.
Nice touch.
Single wrap. Oh, what else? A fridge with Red Bulls. I don't drink Red Bull. Beers, all this stuff. And then they had a cool sign that showed you exactly the breakdown of what you could expect to get for free. So it said, headline comedians, free drinks, free dinner. If the headlining comedian wants to buy drinks for members of the crowd, they're 50% off, which was nuts.
Like, who's just coming in there being like, all right, this whole table, Moscow Mules.
I've offered to buy a drink for somebody in the crowd before.
I have too.
I've done that. But it was because she spilled her drink, or the waitress, I think, spilled the drink. And then I said, I'll get you a drink. And then after the show, I just tried to hand her a $20 bill. And she said, no, you don't have to do that.
Was there another asterisk that was like, if the waitress spills the drink, the club is responsible for replacing the drink?
Then at that point, the club should be
Poor
doing
Francis,
it.
dude.
Yeah.
He's taking on liabilities.
Right.
God bless you.
So anyway, Tacoma was a very long way to go for two shows in one night. Because I flew home the next morning at 8 a.m.
Damn.
And there's something about being on a 5.5, 6 hour flight out west, knowing that you're going to be in that seat again less than 24 hours later, coming back, where you just feel awful.
Yeah, I agree.
That level of repetitive air travel for those long flights is tough. I can do, multiple 2 or 3 hour flights back-to-back days, but 6 hours, that's like going to Paris.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Imagine going to Paris for 14 hours to do 2 comedy shows and then flying home. You know who does that, by the way?
Yeah.
Those EDM DJs.
Oh, dude, I know. And their health is all fucked up.
Really?
Dude, this happened. I mean, I went on 13 flights in 14 days once.
The fuck?
And this is when I'll tell the story another time, but I didn't get into Russia because my visa was all fucked up. It changed all my travel.
You've told us that story.
Yeah, I think we cut it though.
Oh.
But whatever, we're not going to get into that. We'll tell it another time. But 13 flights, 14 days. I got back and I went to the doctor and my white blood cell count was extremely low.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it was literally fucking my immune system up. And then I had to go get follow-up blood work. It came back fine. But that flying does impact your health.
It does.
It's crazy.
Immensely.
Yeah.
I had a cold going into that weekend, and it made it much worse. It amplified the symptoms, and I also think prolonged the duration of the cold. I still have it. This is a 2-week cold at this point. My head hurts like hell. I think it's a sinus infection. I think something's exploding in my brain. My eyeballs hurt so much. Anyway. Not doing well. Breaking down here, Chris.
Well, at least the shows went well.
They
That's good.
they did. It was fun. Tacoma was cool. I went to a weed store out there, snuck back some caramels. At this point, the novelty of the weed store is starting to wear off because so many states have legalized it that it's becoming like going to a wine store.
Right.
Why would I go to a wine store just because I'm in Seattle? Why would I go to a wine store just because they have them in California? Right?
Yeah, the novelty is definitely wearing off a bit.
The whole West Coast, man, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, California, all those states have legalized it. And they have stores. Massachusetts has stores now.
That's crazy.
Colorado. They're happening, man, everywhere.
They're popping up. I was just in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Yeah.
Yeah, tell us about your road gig.
Yeah, I had
opening
a couple,
for Pete.
I was opening for Pete Davidson, which is great. It's also nice because there's no pressure when you're opening for a gig like that because you're just they call you the opener. Even if they write an article about it, like they rarely will be like your name, But the crowds were enormous, like 800 people, I think 1,000 people, something like that.
Nice.
It was fun, man. But performing in casinos is always a little odd.
Mm-hmm.
There's always odd things that happen. Like we had to do meet and greets after one of the shows, and it's just like all these quote unquote high rollers, and it was just like very unusual group of people who are just brought together by the fact that they spend a shit ton of money at casinos.
Right.
That's a crazy thing. Do you gamble at all?
I do. I have a very bad relationship with gambling.
In what way?
Well, I'm very temperate about it. So I don't do it a lot because when I do it, I always lose money and it makes me so unhappy.
Yeah, it does suck losing
It
money.
makes me feel sick to my stomach. It makes me feel probably similar to how you felt after you Juuled.
Yes.
I would just feel like I was a bad person, like I was a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And I hated the feeling of losing money so easily.
And control. Like
So
you have no
quick-
control over your own
yeah.
life.
And I also always know that the feeling of winning money is not greater than the feeling of loss sucks.
100%.
So from a utility perspective, it doesn't outweigh, the highs do not outweigh the lows. You just feel relief. I would feel relieved when I would win. And then when I would lose, I would feel miserable. And relief is not the opposite of misery. Happiness is the opposite of misery. And I never felt happy when I won.
That's profound, dude. I'll give you that. A profound statement.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to get better at talking.
What was your vice, though, specifically? Like, which kind of gambling? Were you losing more money than you could
The
afford
worst
to lose?
thing that happened was somebody set me up with an account, my own account with it was called Wager212 was the site, and I could place my own bets from my phone.
Without having to upload money? Like, you could just bet and then pay at the end of the week?
At the end of the week, you would Venmo the bookie, or he would tell you to Venmo other people that were on his bankroll, and you'd sort out your losses by Venmoing 2 or 3 people.
Right.
And
Clever.
I never fucking won, man. I don't know, I'd have a couple weeks here and there where I'd be up a few $100 or something. But there were weeks where I would lose $800,000. And when you step back, especially life after losing my job at Barstool, where I'm now more conscientious about going out to dinner less and really trying to preserve my income, I simply cannot afford to be lighting $600 on fire, hoping that the fucking Browns cover the spread.
Totally.
What am I doing? That's not who I am. I can't afford that. So while I didn't, the other problem was I was always around friends who were really big gamblers, for whom losing $1,000, $2,000, they kind of just laughed it off.
It was fun.
That was replaceable income on a weekly basis.
Right.
And when you're around people like that, you lose the reality of the money.
Right. Even though you're betting significantly less than them, you're still way out of your own means.
You're way out of your league. And it's funny to them, and losing doesn't affect them that much. And then you lose with them, and while they're laughing it off and firing up another round of bets for the later games, you're sitting in the corner with a pit in your stomach, wondering how long it's going to take you to replace the money you just lost.
Totally.
And that's a fucking terrible place to be in on a Sunday afternoon.
I know. That's relaxed time.
That is a terrible place to be in.
Yeah.
So I have not really been gambling. I did bet. I went to a football party on Sunday for the opening week, and I lost $400.
That's at least for an occasion.
Yeah, but I placed 3 bets or 4 bets, and they all lost. 0 for 4. And that's
sucks.
fine though, because you know what happened though? I had a moment before I placed the bets where normally my bets used to be $200 per bet.
Wow.
And then I said to myself, you're not there, dude. You can't afford that. So while it's unlikely that you'll lose all 4 of these bets, let's lower the unit size to $100 per bet. And sure enough, I went 0 for 4. But then you walk away from that and you're like, well, at least you were smart enough.
Right. I had self-control.
To lower your unit size, and you take a $400 loss as if you've learned. Right. You're still losing fucking money. It's not great. But I've been gambling a lot. There is more to this story, which is insane.
Let's hear it.
The reason that I no longer have my own gambling account on that Wager 2 and 2 site is that I had a back and forth messaging exchange with my bookie, and he had a very funny thing that he said to me, and I almost don't even want to say it because you'll see why. But basically, he said something to me about his personal life, and it was funny to me because he said, I'm not going to be able to handle your account for a little bit, so I'm just passing you over to this other guy, this buddy of mine who's going to run the book for a bit because of something that's happening with my family. And I said, no problem. And then I took a screenshot of that exchange, and I blacked out his name and all of that. And then I tweeted it. And I said, pretty sad that in order for me to stop gambling, my bookie needed to have this happen in his personal life, for me to stop gambling or whatever. And within 5 minutes, 30 people who were on his book had reached out to him and said, hey, is this you? And he fucking lost his mind at me,
God.
dude. He was calling me. He was texting me saying, take that fucking down. What the fuck are you thinking? Like, I can't believe this. Because he really protects himself.
I mean, yeah.
Because it's illegal.
Do you know this guy personally?
I don't, but I had been set up with him through a very close friend of mine. So he was also reaching out to my friend. And then my friend was like, what the fuck are you doing? Why would you do that?
Oh my God.
And it was just a nightmare. I thought this guy was my buddy was saying, this guy's connected. He's got people. You need to take that down for yourself.
You need to lay low for a few weeks.
Yeah, he's a New Jersey bookie.
Jesus,
so I started getting scared.
Yeah, it's fucking scary.
And I remember I messaged him back after the dust had settled. I said I took it down, and then he said, okay, you're no longer allowed to place bets with us based on this. And I said, okay, are you gonna, come after me or something? And he said, no, I'm not gonna hurt you, but
What?
you need to know better.
Jesus, I'm not gonna hurt you.
Well, because he knew that I was scared that he was one of those guys, and those people are real.
They're
man.
scary. I know. Jesus, dude.
So
You dodged a bullet.
I got out that. Then I didn't gamble for months and months and months and months. And then my friends and I would arrange a trip to, Vegas or Atlantic City. And then I'd lose money at the blackjack table, and that would be a bummer. But those were a little more few and far between. And now gambling is just something I try really to avoid.
And dude, you should. That's good. Gambling's bad.
It's just tough, man.
I mean, it's fun though, but I get it. Yeah, if you don't have control, you shouldn't be gambling.
When is it fun?
It's fun if you're, like you said, if you're losing money that doesn't matter. If you lose and that pit in your stomach feeling isn't happening, you're gambling within your means, and that seems like a healthy relationship with it to me.
When has it not mattered to lose money?
Because like if you're betting negligible amounts, like to your friends, $1,000 is nothing. You know what I mean?
Fine.
And to me, if I lose $5, that's nothing. That's the equivalent.
Right.
If I'm betting $5 and I lose, no big deal. If I lose 50, I feel fucking horrible.
I guess what you need to do is you need to take the way we used to do it when we were in early college years. We would take a long drive out to Mohegan Sun or something, and then we would take $200 cash out of the ATM and then hand our debit cards to
That's
a buddy
smart.
system and say, under no circumstances can you allow me to withdraw more cash.
That is fucking great.
And we had spotters basically, and that was how we lived. But we would also be betting the minimum tables, $5, $10. The problem for me is my friends don't want to play $15 blackjack. And you sit down at the blackjack table and they want their minimum. I have a friend whose minimum unit size is like $500.
Jesus.
That's his bet. He puts a $500 chip down for every hand of blackjack that's played.
Jesus.
And when you're sitting next to that guy and you're putting down your $25 chip, the money just seems completely insignificant by comparison.
That's wild, man.
So,
It's fucking wild.
yeah, gambling, Juuls.
We have a great guest today, later in the show, Paul Virzi. We're excited to have him on. Very funny comedian. You can check out his special. We love him, so we're excited for him to come through.
Hell yeah. What do you want to talk about? Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. I did this to Chris yesterday, and I feel like to me, this is one of the funniest things.
Oh, good.
This, in my opinion, is one of the funniest jokes. And I don't know why this is so funny to me. And people are like, oh, this is only shit white people find funny. So I texted Chris a video, and it was unclear what the video was. And then I just said, yo, check this out. And the video is a man blowing another man on the subway platform for like 3 minutes. And I just thought I thought it was so funny that I was doing that to Chris. And I felt that Chris also found it hilarious. I sent this video to like 50 people. I scrolled down with discretion. I'm like, all right, he won't think this is funny. Oh, he's going to love this. You know what I mean? Like picking it out. And I'm going to do it to Francis too at some point.
I think you should.
At an undisclosed time.
I also think that's a funny thing to do where, oh man, I would think it'd be very funny. I've thought about something like this where you take like the most sexual, contrived mirror selfie. Maybe you're wearing spandex shorts and you put a massive dildo in your shorts and it looks like the outline of your dick is going all the way down to the hem of the shorts. And then you take the picture and there's candles lit. And then you send it to a buddy of yours, and then you're like, "Oh, sorry, wrong person." And the ultimate question is, who was that intended for? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's pretty funny.
I like that one too.
But yours is really good. Yo, check this out.
Yo, people, like I was sending him like a hip hop video. Yo, bro, this shit's fire. It's just like. And the dude had a gigantic penis too. It makes the video even better.
There's something about those subways, man. They grow them big down there.
I know, dude.
They really do.
And the guy's making eye contact with the person filming while being blown. And It's great.
So does that mean the camera guy was in on it too?
It didn't sound like it. It sounded like the guy filming it was like talking to God in Spanish angrily, being like, "Oh, Jesucristo,
Yeah, that's where God's
Nueva
gonna go.
York."
Yeah, he's really going to go down to the New York subway and say, "Stop this hedonism."
Literally the depths of hell, man.
That's-
A hot, sweaty subway platform where men are blowing each other with an audience.
Chris, here's the question. How far into the video did you make it?
So, like 20 seconds, and then I just scrolled to the end, and it was just the same thing. Like, nothing changed.
And he didn't even nut at the end. Yeah, it's like, where's the nut? I mean, why am I even this far in?
I
Yeah.
have a question. How did you get that video? So, who sent it to you?
So that's a good question. Chris asked me who sent me the video, and the answer is Adam Glynn. He used to work on TMZ. I don't want to call him a paparazzi. I don't know if that's frowned upon. He's like the premier paparazzi. He's like a class A, and he loves to send me videos like this where things go wrong at the end. So it'll be a thing where it's at first a beautiful woman, but then it's a man putting a penis into his own penis, like shit like that. So this one's lived up to the hype, and when I get a video from Adam, I know it's going to be something gross. Oh yeah, so Chris now has said he's going to send me a bunch of shit too, so I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, if you guys end up somehow getting that video circulated to you, we want to hear about it. The video of the guy blowing the guy on the subway platform. It's a great one. Yeah, Chris, make sure you send it to your friends. If you get it, be sure to send it to your friends in a serious way, being like, yo, peep this, yo. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest on Oops the Podcast today. You know him from his Comedy Central special. It's Paul Virzi.
What's up, dude?
Welcome, Paul. How are you?
Thanks for having me.
This is great. This is a fascinating thing that I have for both of you because I have never really been asked to open for a comedian that, you know, I really admire. I opened for Theo Von a couple times, and that was really fun. But as two guys, comedians who, and Paul, you especially, opened for Bill for many years, got to play. I saw you Madison Square Garden 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
When the stage was in the back.
Not in the round. Did you go to the, were you at the round?
I also came to the one in the round.
Yeah.
And I remembered you, and DeRosa was also opening the first time.
On the first time, yeah.
And then you did it again this time.
With Joe Bartnick, yeah.
Yeah, and you guys were amazing. I was always wondering, though, was there any part of you that felt that defining your career in those stages, very much as Bill Burr's opener, was in any way holding you back from defining yourself?
What it is that's a great question, and that's exactly what people can get stuck in, and you can't. You know, me and Bill talked a long time ago, and I remember specifically we were smoking a cigar on the rooftop, and he was just like in Toronto, and we did this Canadian tour. This is like 6 years ago. 6 years ago, and he goes, "Man, dude, you know what you're doing right now is a really great thing to see." And he goes, "The only sad thing is we're not going to be working together." And he's like, "No matter what, we're always going to be friends." And Bill's my son's godfather, so that's family to me anyway. So opening for Bill is like, he'll just hit me up every once in a while, be like, "Hey, I'm doing this theater. If you're free, I'd love to have you." But it was always like, you can't define yourself. Like, you can't be somebody's opener. Like back in the day, I believe some big acts would have somebody, and their life and career was that, and they were happy with it. They'd go on the road, and they would maybe even have a family, but their life was, I'm going to open for George Carlin, or I'm going to be this guy's opener forever. That was never the plan. Like, I was doing it. Bill was more of like a, you know, I guess you could say a Rodney Dangerfield to me, where Rodney took and hooked up, Saget and Sandra Bernhardt and Roseanne Barr and Dice and all those people on that. So that was more the thing. But we talked, and it was like, that's kind of why I don't do it now. It was like, eventually you're going to go.
Right.
You know, you never want to get stuck in that. You know, the other thing is, I wasn't Bill's, a lot of people don't understand this, but I wasn't Bill's exclusive opener. I was Bill had about 4 or 5 people, a lot of people on the West Coast, which I wouldn't do. But if he came to the East Coast and stuff like that, but we were so close and both huge sports fans, and that's what bonded us, that he would be like, "Hey, dude, I'm going to this game. So you want to open for me at this theater, and then we're going to go to this game tonight." Oh, cool. So it would always be that. He would actually schedule things around like sporting events. He would schedule things around doing, like, he'd be like, "Oh, dude, this, you know, Texas game, and let's go to Texas, Oklahoma, and we'll do a thing. And it'd be like, yeah. So it was always more us friends first and then working together. But yes, it did help. Like when he was like, hey, dude, I'm doing Canada for 20 days and it'll be a nice payday for you. I was like, yeah. But it was always under the thing like, hey, when it's my time to go. It's funny you brought that up because we talked yesterday and he was like, man, it kind of sucks. You know, he's like, I love seeing you headlining across the country right now, but like I'm going to miss a Clemson game. That was something that we do every year, a college game. Last year we went to the big house, you know, this year's Clemson. And I'm like, dude, and he was like, he's like, I love seeing it, but it sucks because it used to be, but now he's got other people that will do it. But you're right. You gotta eventually move.
Right.
Right. And it sounds like he cares a lot about you, which is great. Because I feel like sometimes in that opener space, like the headliner doesn't always give a shit about you. As in, like they're so worried, and rightfully so, they're worried about their own shit.
Yeah.
So like you growing as your own person and stuff, like they're not thinking about that. Like you're the one who has to think about that for yourself. But it sounds like he was really concerned about you in general, and like he was very happy to support you in whatever you felt like doing.
That is 1,000% right, dude. That's exactly right. Like, and that's what I mean. Like he looked at, and he would rather work with somebody that he cared about like that. Like he genuinely like cared. Like we would talk after shows, and wow. If you want me to give you, I could tell you guys something pretty cool about this. When Bill and I first started working together, probably like I remember I was standing at Stand Up New York one night, and he's like, "Hey, dude, I'm doing DC." It was like 2008. He goes, I'm doing DC Improv. And I'm like, yeah. And I remember doing it. And I remember it was great. It went great. And I remember at the end of the week, he would be like, and this is another thing of why he's a great dude and why when he cares about somebody, it's not only about the money. He wants to see them go to another level. He would never talk about my act at the very beginning. He would say things like, hey man, great job this weekend. Great job. So then the next few times, you know, and then the next year, then I would talk to other openers and be like, you know, that were like younger, be like, yeah, no, I don't know how he feels about my act, you know? And then I remember like starting to like, you know, maybe 10 years, 08, 09, 2010, he would go, hey dude, that bit. And then all of a sudden he started talking about my bits. And then I was like, all right, now I think he's starting to see something. And I'll never forget, man, we were sitting down one time talking. This was probably like 5 years ago. And he goes, dude, watching you right now is a beautiful thing, dude. And you're going to start to sell out clubs and you're going to start to do this and that. And I remember literally listening to that dude say that. And I immediately wanted to just call my wife and be like, dude, I think almost like I could retire, you know, but I didn't even get started yet. But because he never wanted to give false hope. And I remember he told me one time, Mitzi Shore at the Comedy Store, rest her soul, would say things like, no, you're just not ready, and like kind of do that and say the worst thing you could do for a comedian is give them false hope. And we were eating wings one time in Jacksonville, Florida. And I was talking shit, you know, I was drinking, I was talking shit. And I was like, dude, I'm telling you, man, I think I could be great, this and that. And he looked me in the face and he goes, you're never going to be great if you don't dig deeper. And if you don't, and I remember going like, yeah. And then I remember just being like, and it's just all about being honest and pushing the envelope and being as honest and truthful as you can. And you know, really not, you know, there's a fine line between like killing and killing with shit that means something. Do you know? And New York City, guys, I've been talking about this. New York City stand-up comedy in New York City is getting worse with the crowds. The crowds here are really, really kind of succumb to this PC shit. And I feel it. And I've talked to club owners and bookers that are like, yeah. I remember Burr and other comics were working shit recently and they're going like, Nick DiPaolo and Burr and people going like, dude, I feel like I'm fucking bombing in New York, or I feel like not bombing, but like they're just getting tight. And like the other night I did this WNBA joke at the Cellar, and you know, the people that really got it and like, you know, definitely it's a little anti, you know, women's basketball, but it's also a comparison. It's a funny joke. And like these women were like crossing their arms, shaking their head. And I remember I said something about feminists not having jobs. And one woman in the Cellar was like, no. And I'm going like, And I'm on tour right now. I was in D.C., I was in Pittsburgh, I was doing all these fucking shows, and those crowds are like, yeah, like, let's go. And if they were like, get a little, it's like, but it's comedy. New York right now, man, when you go into the cellar and you go and say something, you could do low-hanging fruit shit. Mm-hmm. Oh, I was in Ireland drinking, and that's the, that's this, that's it, and or like relationship stuff. Go and say something that kind of makes somebody think, dude. And if it's anything that the either the PC people or the far left or the super we're woke progressive, if it's anything that challenges that even slightly, you can not only feel, you can see them in the crowd go like, oh, is this okay? And you almost got to call them out on it, which sucks for New York. And it sucks that I'm saying that about my home crowds, but that really is what I'm feeling for real.
I definitely think when you go on the road, the people that are coming to see you know who you are and they're familiar with you. That's the audience you've cultivated, right?
That's right.
And they're going to ride with you because they're excited to see you. They know what to expect. In New York, every night you go up, it is a complete mixed bag of people from all walks of life. And it's very hard to deliver a universal comedy set that appeals to everybody in that audience, which is what kind of makes you really appreciate the people who are broadly appealing. The Chappelles, Kevin Hart's of the world, Bill Burr. But even Bill, you watch him in an arena and he destroys. But I've seen him do sets in New York City where he's working on new stuff, where the audience will pull back. And maybe it's because there are people there who aren't as familiar with his work, which is hard to believe.
Yeah.
But, he's certainly not afraid to push the envelope.
I think you're 100% right. It's like Chappelle, even though Burr's stand-up, and I do believe this, and I'm not saying this because he's my best friend and mentor. I believe Bill's stand-up is as good as any comedian alive today, including Chappelle. But Chappelle is so iconic, right, that when he goes in and pushes the envelope, the crowd's almost like, yeah, we get to see this. Where Bill, if you don't know him, you're like, is this guy angry? What's that about? And how crazy. And you made a really good point. It's like, this is the first time, I think, in history where you could sell out Madison Square Garden like Sebastian did 4 times,
right?
And not everybody knows who you are,
right? It's so crazy.
This is the first time, like back then, like when Dice did it, it was like, dude, that's Andrew Dice Clay. You saw that. You could sell out Madison Square Garden 4 nights in a row, and then if you're on TV, people going, who the fuck is that?
Yeah.
That's the first time in history, I think, being famous has that, and Bill does somewhat, and I think Bill's, obviously, it's getting more and more with him, which is great, because it's well-deserved. But yeah, he goes up, and you're right about that. Showcase shows in New York City, they don't, It's like, if I go up at the stand, I'll feel like 2 or 3 tables know me. Or I'll see like, hey, like they either saw me at the Garden with Bill. People come up to me now about the Comedy Central special and the clips. So they'll be like pockets. So they're in, like you said, or like when I'm on the road. But dude, if you don't know me and I start shitting on the WNBA or I start doing something and they're just like, who the fuck is this,
Yeah.
bald Italian talking shit, this fucking racist, right? Like you could tell, you could feel that they're like, fuck him.
Vibe.
Yeah,
I would have loved to have been there at the cellar and just watch 4 6'9" women cross their 8-foot wingspan arms as you start talking about the WNBA.
This woman literally,
Amazonians.
This woman literally went like this, and I could tell that people were like, oh shit. And I could tell the people that really loved comedy and dudes were like, oh fuck yeah. And even some women were laughing. But when I fucking did it, this woman just literally went like this and then looked at me. This is at the Village Underground, packed out on Tuesday. Two nights ago, and she just crossed her arms, and as I'm doing it, she's going, and I'm seeing that while I'm doing the fucking bit, shaking her head in disgust, and I'm going, why New York? Like New York, and then I figured out why. New York is an insanely liberal state, especially city. I shouldn't say state, because if you go upstate to New York, there's definitely more. And I'm not trying to make this a political thing. You could get pain in the ass conservative people, but for the most part, it's like the overly progressive, too woke. I mean, you guys saw this shit where you can't say, "Hey guys," now. You saw that?
I know. They, them, theirs.
I mean, so if you have a group of people, I've seen my 7-year-old daughter go, "Hey guys, we're going into the movie now. Get your candy," or something like that. So now what do you got to do? Now you got to go, "Hey, you man and you woman," like what the like,
right?
You know?
Yeah. No, totally.
Hey, buddy. Well, why'd you say buddy? Because that insinuates friend. Now you're excluding some people. Now they're not a friend. It's like, what the fuck is that? Hey, dude. I go like this. I said this the other day. I go, hey, dude. Well, that's kind of like a California surfer thing. So if you're not, it's like, what can I?
That's hilarious. Right. Appropriating California culture.
Yeah.
You can't say dude, bro.
Yeah, you can't say dude because that's like a surfer thing. And now and I'm like, what can I say then? It's that's the thing. But what sucks is you would think with New York comedians being, I think, on another level, and I think New York comedy pushes you. You would think that this city would be not this is the case.
And New Yorkers typically having good discretion. Like they're always liberal, but they're always like, that doesn't make sense. I feel like that is a historical New York vibe.
Right.
Crazy.
It's actually making people that were like normal liberal Democrats go like, wow, like this side is fucked up.
Yeah.
And I also think though that some people in the crowd aren't that much but they're scared because I remember calling the crowd out a little bit and then I was like, fuck you guys, that's a good joke or whatever. And then they were like, oh yeah. So I think it's almost like they need to be snapped out of it. Do you know what I mean? It's like they kind of like, oh yeah, we are at a comedy show. Like that's, but it didn't happen in DC, and it didn't even places that weren't all my fans. Because I'm at that, like I said, I'm at that thing on the road now where if you buy a ticket, like let's say like 40% buy a ticket to see me, okay, that leaves 60% that might have heard about me but doesn't know. So then you got the people that are still judging me, and then you got people that just come to that club. Yeah. And the club does their own business.
Let's go see a comedy show tonight.
Let's go see a comedy show. Oh, yeah, that guy, I might have heard of him. Let's like that. So but I feel like even when I said some pushy shit or edgy shit or like some honest things socially in D.C., they like went along for the ride. Pittsburgh loved it. All these places loved it. But I'm doing, Gotham in a couple weeks, and hopefully those are my fans. So like that's the difference. It's not a showcase show. But I literally go into a joke now at the cellar or the stand, and I'm going like, well, we'll see how this goes, which is crazy, especially when you know that the joke is tried and true.
Right. Yeah, but that's interesting. Really quick, let's make sure people are aware. You're at Gotham Comedy Club, September.
Yes, I'll be at Gotham Comedy Club Friday, September 27th, 2 shows, and Saturday, September 28th, 2 shows.
And where can we get tickets to that?
You can get tickets to that at definitely GothamComedyClub.com. So you could go to Gotham's website, and I believe there's a link on Paul Virzi. .com, but if you go to Gotham, the tickets are available right there, and there's links on my social media as well.
Beautiful club, they do it right.
They're the best.
You'll have a very comfortable, wonderful evening at Gotham Comedy Club.
The owners there that's one thing. The Mazzillis, and I'm honestly not saying it. It's known throughout comedy. They fuck you over 0% of the time ever. Not one ticket not accounted for. Those guys are as stand up and awesome as you could be, man. They're the best.
It's fascinating.
Paul, let me ask you a question, because when I was first starting to get around and get like check spots at clubs and stuff, you were already the man. And this was like probably 2011. I was doing check spots at CB's, and you were there, and
I remember that.
And you were going in, you were fucking killing. I was like, this guy's the man. Awesome. And I feel that until recently, you've been an underappreciated comic. I felt that way. So I felt that you were a guy who wasn't getting the love you deserved, and I'm happy that you now are. So.
I appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, I definitely, it was weird. Like up until about 2 years ago, I would say around 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago, this thing happened where people were just like even like industry and publicists and everything, something happened, but I felt like, and I will say this, I definitely did turn a corner and get better. The material got, and even like the Mazzillis and clubs saw it. And I felt it. And I would talk to my wife and be like, wow, things happen. But I was doing well before, but I also think, man, to be honest, I think it's a combination of things. I think that I wasn't as good as I am now, and I know, obviously, like I said, I don't want to sit here and talk like I have a lot of work to do. Like, I listened to myself the other night, I'm like, no, you need to do that. For me, it's always a progression, but I think that I really do think that the alternative thing during that time, that was like when, like, especially like CBs, I remember like who was getting booked at Montreal, and I remember looking at myself, and I remember even Burr saying, the only way you're getting fucking Montreal, The only way. I auditioned in 11, didn't deserve it in 11. 12, I did really, really good, didn't get it. And I remember going, should I even fucking audition for this thing anymore? And I remember Burr saying, the only way a guy like you is getting Montreal is you have to be so fucking undeniable and blow the doors off every time. And in 13, that's what I did. The auditions, I just was locked in. I thought about it for a year and I was ready to go. But like, that's a thing. So I think it's a combination of, yeah, I could have been better. But also it was like they needed to get the woman. They needed to get this. They needed to get that. You know, I'm a cigar smoking father likes fucking whiskey. I like to party. I like to go to games. I like to chill out, but I'm a dad. I'm just kind of, you know, I'm a straight dude. I'm Mediterranean. I'm Italian and Greek. I got a bald head. I look the way I look. My last name is Virzi. You know, I mean, I'm not making excuses, but like when that's on a lineup, and other, you know, I think that, I mean, if I'm just being honest with you, I appreciate, there were times where I appreciate what you said, I really do. But yeah, there were times where I was like, man, like, I feel like, you know, I'm definitely not, but The Stand gave me love. And people that, like, the people that did, and having Burr during those times that were kind of hard, having a guy like Burr and other friends go, dude, man, just stick the course. But sometimes it's fucking hard, man. Yeah. You know, I got two kids and my wife, and I would be there and I would be like, man, you know, I'm getting some love from peers and some of these bookers, but like, what the fuck is it going to take? And then something just happened where I just, you know, and then when the special came out, that's when people started to, you know, it's funny. We were out in Vegas and Steve Byrne came up to me, and I don't think people didn't know about me either. Like Steve Byrne was like, hey dude, I saw your Comedy Central special. And he was like really good. And he goes, I don't mean to sound surprised. He's like, and I'm like, yeah, people don't know, people didn't see me. You know, so that's a thing too, but always getting better. Like I the other night I was listening back and I killed in the show, but then when I listened, I'm like, yeah, the feedback's great, but that joke fucking stinks. Like I suck. And I'm just and it's this mind fuck, man. Or like you'll get off and people will be like, oh my God, I come here every month. That was one of my favorite shows. And then you listen back and you're like, I'm better than that joke. You know, but I think you have to have that.
And that probably shows you that you're at the next level, because it's like, at first it's important, they need to laugh, and that's all that matters. But then you're like, well, how's this going to sound on TV though?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Anytime you see a comedian get off stage, think they're the shit, that's a big problem. You know, I've seen some of the best comedians ever get off stage after murdering and be like, I just got to get back. And I'm just like,
I know, dude, it's crazy.
Dude, I remember one time I opened for a Tell in North Carolina, and the crowd was hot, and we were at Good Nights Comedy Club in Raleigh, and I got off and I had a great time, and I just looked at Dave and I go, dude, you are gonna crush. And I remember he was just had his head down and he goes, man, I don't know about that. It's fucking David Tell. This is like David Tell. It's like David Tell. This is not. This is after Insomniac. This is fucking David Tell. And I'm like, that's why that guy's great. And that's why, because you see these arrogant fucking kids walking around the club and acting like that, you know, and it's like, wait a minute, there's no insecurity there. There's no vulnerability. You're not scared. You're not scared that your peers are watching you. You're not questioning your material right now. There's something wrong there. And it should always be that way. And, you know, I mean, listen, just sometimes you're like, oh, I'm going to go in and fuck, I feel it right now. I'm going to go in and crush. But that's, you know, you guys know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, bro.
No.
That's...
Appreciate you though, dog.
I do have I have a question.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is a podcast. So we're supposed to fucking do. Why do we say that? I hate that. Anyway, whatever. Yeah. You have kids and a family.
Yeah.
Have you found it harder to progress in your comedy career with a family and with kids? Has there ever been a part of you that felt held back or limited?
No. In fact, the opposite. And I think anybody that says that is not really paying attention. You know, my wife says when she got pregnant with my son, she said she saw something in me. I don't think so. I think I was just getting more opportunities, and that's why I had more work. But she said that she saw blinders go on a little bit when I knew that my son, my firstborn, my son Lucas, who's 10 now, no, I think if anything, I could have been damaged if I was single, because I would be drinking, I would be chasing girls, I would be after shows, yeah, let's go to that bar, You know, you remember that bar next to the old stand?
Yeah, Patty's.
Patty's. I'd be at I mean, I still was at Patty's sometimes doing shots, going, dude, I gotta go to a diner for 2 hours and sober up before I drive an hour north. So I think like living that life would have been really detrimental to me, to be like, oh, dude, those shows were great. Let's go do shots and stay out there. And I see comedians, I'm obviously not going to mention names, but I see comedians, great comedians that are single, fucking lonely. They come back to their studio apartment or whatever, and they're just out at the club and just living spot to spot, paying their rent. But like, what do they have, dude? I got a baby boy, a girl. I got a house up in the country, you know, and I'm living that life. I remember JB Smooth was outside going, man, once my daughter was born, I fucking went. So no, I think if anything, it drove me and made me go, fuck, let's do this. I mean, granted, I had help. My wife supported, you know, my wife worked, and I would contribute anything I did with stand up. But the greatest thing I did, and any comedian listening to this is probably one of the greatest pieces of advice I've ever could give anybody in comedy. Forget stand-up, just in doing this business. And I was luckily 23 years old when I made this decision. I came up and I was doing black rooms. I was doing contests. I would throw my dude. I did 8 Mile shit in this business. I would walk up. I'd be one of the only white souls in the room. 250 black audience members that would love nothing more than for me to eat my balls in front of them and get booed off. And I had to do it. I remember driving from upstate New York to Harlem to do 125th Street Uptown Comedy Club to do 6 minutes, no money, just because I had to do it. But I started dating her. I knew her for a while. I started dating her. Beautiful girl, smart. My wife went to Rutgers with like could have went to any school, but since her mother paid a loan, she decided to just go to Rutgers. Top of her, like, you know, 3.8, whatever the fuck it was. You know, beautiful. Could have married a doctor, lawyer. I sat down with her at the TikTok diner in Manhattan, and I looked her in the face. And this is when I was doing contests and shit. And I had like 12 minutes of fucking mediocre, just 6 of which were good, right? And I remember, well, no, maybe like 10, but anyway. Yeah, I mean, I was doing well in the contest. But I looked at her and I go, look, you need to know this. And it's the smartest thing I've ever done, still, to this day. I looked her in the eyes and I go, I'm doing this. I go, you're a beautiful woman. You're smart. You could marry a doctor, lawyer, probably not have to work. You know, she was working at Saatchi advertising company and stuff. She was doing good. But I said, this is what I'm doing. So I said, I can be broke or well off in my 30s and 40s. I could be broke or well off in either my 30s or 40s in this business. But I'm doing this. So you need to talk to whoever you need to talk to. And I said, if you walk, you walk. I understand. But you need to talk to your mother. Mother's a lawyer. You need to talk to your mother. You need to know whoever the fuck it is you need to talk to, because I'm not going to deal with it later. I'm not going to be doing this. And dude, to this day, I can't even believe I had still to this day, I'm patting myself on the back going like, I was fucking like drinking and doing contests. But I said that, and it was the greatest thing, because it was like, and she did. She talked to her mother, and her mother was like, listen, Stacy, that's a hard life this dude is choosing, and as your mother and as an educated woman who's a lawyer, I would have to say against it. No. But and she was like, no, I'm gonna rock with this guy. I think this guy, and she did it. But that's what I did, and it took the pressure off me, because it's like, listen, I'm gonna contribute when we work and when we live together, or if we do, anything I do with stand up, I'll contribute. I mean, you have a real corporate job, so you'll be making more money, but I'll contribute. But this is what I'm doing. You decide. Right. And that fucking, to this day, me and my wife talk about it.
Wow.
That's a profound moment.
Very honest.
It was because I knew what she could do, and I knew the battle that was ahead of me, which is still ahead of me. It's always going to be. You know, it's a really hard thing. But, she was smart enough to appreciate it and go, okay, I understand what he's saying. You know, because I wasn't delusional, like, hey, just stay with me. And like, I'm 23 or 24 now. By the time I'm 27, we're going to be in a match. I could have been that delusional asshole. Right. You know, and then all of a sudden now she's going, what happened?
Right. Well, you're on your way, man.
Yeah.
It's funny because like she was smart enough to go, oh, that's actually kind of smart. You know what I mean? That's actually kind of smart. Like, and I said to her, her mother told me her mother will still sometimes go, you know, I told her, because she loves me now, and I think she almost feels bad. Yeah. But she goes, I told her, Paul. She's like, you know, what was I supposed to say? And I said to my mother-in-law, I go, you know what, Kim? I get it. Because if my daughter or something, like, that's the person that's your child, and they're about to go into this fucking thing with somebody that's driving to black clubs to do stand-up and not get paid to see if he could do it. You know, so, you know, I don't have any animosity towards her for that.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So in light of that, is there a moment in your career that you can point to where you say, wow, that was a mistake. I wish I had that one back. I wish I could have played it differently. And I'll preface this by saying,
Yeah.
you know, we had Andrew Schultz on last week or 2 weeks ago. And he said, I don't believe in mistakes. I think every mistake is an opportunity to learn. We call it fucking upwards, obviously.
Yeah.
However, is there a moment in your career, let's start with career, where you think that might have set me back? My career would have gone a little smoother if that hadn't happened.
Like you said, fucking, what'd you say?
Fucking upwards.
Fucking upwards is right. Like, it's like, oh, I fucked that up, but now I know, and I could tell a friend under me, hey, don't do that, to make, you know, to kind of help that thing. But anything that you really fuck up is a learning thing. It's like, it's the same thing. It's like, there have been times I was on stage and I said something and I'm like, fuck, maybe I shouldn't have, you know, maybe I shouldn't have said that. And and then I'm like, no, but now I know, like, that's the, you know, it's like if you're an asshole growing up in school, which thank God I wasn't, but I saw kids that were assholes and then they got punched in the face. And then once they got punched in the face, like, I'm not going to do that again. So you kind of need those slaps a little bit. But if to answer your question, the one thing is when I first got my first manager, I got like laxed for a few months where I'm like, oh fuck, now I can just go and do what I do. That's not you're never stopping for you, and nobody will ever give a fuck. And somebody will act like they care. Somebody will act like your career is as important. They will act like they give a fuck.
First meeting.
Yeah, like, yeah, and then if your heat goes away, or if something happens where like the next guy gets, that next guy, he just got the Tonight Show and a pilot for CBS and this, and then you see that your same manager is kind of going towards that. You're like, well, wait a minute, I thought, and
right.
then that lets you realize, oh, okay, so I kind of still am on my own a little bit. They want to help, but I'm on my own.
Interesting.
And a good metaphor, in my opinion, for what you're talking about, because I learned that exact lesson as well. I was like, I can just sit back now, and my manager will do. You know what I mean? It's like an assisted door. Like, you still have to push the fucking door open, and while you're pushing, then it kicks in and it opens for you as well. But that door's not just going to open without you still pushing on it.
Exactly. Like, they could help you push, but you have to be, like, everybody needs to be pushing, and you can't, all right, guys, you can't cross your arms and go, get that door open. It's just doesn't exist.
You have to be literally Bill Burr. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You have to be like the fucking man to kick back. And even you have to have the pressure of creating a brilliant fucking hour every X amount of time. You know what I mean? Like, you're never just going to get to sit back ever. Yeah. If you accept that, you're on your way to something.
I agree 100%.
It's I remember going through the process of finding representation, and it happened quickly for me. And I was under the same false narrative of believing that the moment I had an agent and a manager, I would just be sifting through a pile of roles of scripts where parts had been written for me, and saying, no, this one maybe, no, and that's not at all how it goes, at all. And the other thing that I thought was, if I can sign with the fanciest, flashiest agency and the most high-profile manager, a place where you walk in and the snack closet is full of granola bars. Like, however many different brands of granola bars are, that's the best manager for you. And what you find is, I think young comedians looking for representation would be better served by a manager or an agent who is eager to prove themselves and is also climbing, such that the two of you are working in commensurate kind of trajectories where their success is dependent upon your success, as opposed to signing on with an agent for whom you are the lowest rung of their totem pole, the last priority of the day. They're not going to hustle for you because you're their lowest moneymaker. And I still don't know. I still don't know if I've, made the right decision. I like my people a lot, but I also know that, especially with my agent, I am not a major priority for him.
Yeah,
and it bums me out.
Yeah, you get into a pool of like 20 comedians that have been doing it longer than you, and it's a big agency. It's hard. I actually just thought of something. I have one more thing that I kind of regret. I don't regret, but I don't love, and I would have changed it. Is I went through some tough shit when my mom got sick. My mom had stage 4 cancer, and she's fine now.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, she's a test drug saved her life, but I went through that stuff, and I went through some stuff growing up, and people had it harder, but when my parents split up, I was 5, and it was definitely some brutal shit went on, and I remember like when somebody like would pass me at a club, I remember like I wrote them a letter, and I was like, thank you so much. Like, you don't understand what this, and I was almost too much, like explaining, like I went through this, I went through that, and they were like, oh my God, you're going to make me cry. I did that 2 different times to people that were like going to either try to give me a chance or give me a chance. And I realized, I'm like, no, fuck that. I'm working. Like I deserve, I deserve it, or at least I'm working towards it. And now I'm acting like some puppy dog thanking you. Now, so one person was like, this is one of the nicest notes. I'll always keep this, because it was really nice that I wrote that, hey, man, thank you for passing me this club. You don't understand. I've been trying to do this. This means a lot. But now looking back, I feel like it was not weak, but it was just like, it was me. It was my insecurity a little bit.
Right.
You're
You're showing your cards a little bit by doing that.
I showed my hand so much, and I showed, and listen, it's not the worst thing to show that you're appreciative and you understand what they're doing for you, but it's at the same time it's like, no, everybody's trying to, like, not everyone's gonna write you a fucking novel after you get them in a room. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, it's like fucking like you have sex with somebody and you're like, I can't believe I just fucked you.
You've never done that?
This was no, I have, and then I don't
man.
hear from the person ever again.
Oh no, I was,
mean?
but like that's kind of who I am.
I tell
like,
girls I love them in the morning.
Yeah, dude, no, dude,
They're hot enough.
I make out, like if I make out with seriously, if I make out with a chick, like before my wife, if I made out with a chick for like a good 15 minutes, I would like be like, dude, we're gonna be together forever. I'll be like, like our daughter's gonna be beautiful, and she's like, dude, what the fuck are you talking
Gonna have
about?
your hair.
She's like, we
eyes.
she's like, we ate at Applebee's once. I'm like planning our kids' college. She's like, what the fuck is this lunatic talking about? But I think maybe that's why I was always a relationship guy.
Yeah.
But now I'm writing novels to to bookers that are giving me an opportunity. So like showed my hand a little bit just because I was so eager and stuff. So stuff like that. Like the mistakes came obviously early, and when I was learning and stuff like that, and I just now I know. Now I kind of am just like, all right, know, kind of know.
You know what I've been an exercise I've been doing a lot lately, which I don't even think it's particularly good, but you point to seminal moments in your career where you did make a choice and your life went a certain way based on the decision that you made, and wondering how differently it would have gone, whether better or worse, had you chosen the other thing.
Interesting.
And that I think is an interesting exercise as well.
I do believe it. I do believe this, and I know some people don't, and I don't want to get. I'm not a super religious guy, but I'm a fate guy. I believe things happen for a reason. I believe that things happen for a reason. I believe what happened to you at Barstool was I'm not gonna say like predestined. I believe that because things in my life have happened. I'm not one of these. It's not just like a dream. Oh, there's a wizard in the sky, or Santa Claus, all that. That's what atheists like to say. It's not that. It's that I've experienced things in my life where I'm like, dude, if that didn't happen, and honestly, if the paths of that didn't happen, imagine this, imagine that, and I believe that like you will get to where you need to. Where I believe. With the work that you put in, what you give, you'll get back. I'm also a believer in like what you put out there in the universe, like it was like saying it to existence. I am literally somebody. I can tell you guys this, and I'm not telling you guys this for some feel good shit. I'm telling you this true. Like I remember when I was years ago. Russell Crowe won an Oscar, and I was this kid. When did Gladiator come? Gladiator came out what? 2002, 2000, right? Yeah. So this is like, I'm like 20, whatever. And I remember he was just there, and he looked at me, he goes, if you're home right now watching this, and you're on the couch, and you're thinking this would never be me, he's like, that's what it was me. He was like, this could never be, and it is, and making it is all in your mind. Like, to me, I got a house, I got cars, I got 2 beautiful kids, I got I got the wife, I tell dick jokes for a living, and it's great, and I'm headlining and all these things. When I tell you nobody gave a fuck about me in this business, and if it wasn't for people like a Bill Burr and then touring with guys like Joe Bartnick, or seeing like a big name comedian go, hey man, it's real funny, those little things that you need to make you go, all right, I feel like shit, but if that guy is telling me those little things, like that's what kept me going and going, like, okay, but also the drive. Like, I also am a stubborn fuck, and I'm like, no, dude, I'm going to be better than that guy. That guy that's getting everything, I can do that. Like, nobody gave a fuck about me in this business. And then Chris Italia came along, and he was like, I see something, but it's like, honestly, industry wanted nothing to do with me. Industry wanted a fucking self-hating alternative asshole at one point. They wanted, women at one point, all these different things. And I was just like, but I'm killing. And I just stuck to the course. And now finally, and I still have a shit ton of work to do. I mean, I'm just scratching the surface, but finally agencies were like, we want to meet with you. We want to meet with you after the special. We want to meet with you. So that's what I'll say. Like, it does happen if you just put your fucking head down and just keep going and make people go, oh, wow, that is, like that thing with Steve Byrne. He wasn't being rude. He was just like, oh, no, not that I'm surprised, but like, that's special. I didn't know. And I'm going, in my mind, I'm going like, I had to, there's like a barrier you got to break through to get there. But I mean, nobody gave a fuck about it. I felt industry literally like walk away. Be like, I can't, because what can I talk to him about? I'm not going to sign him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He's not my type of guy. I'm not going to sign him. So I'd be standing there at some fucking Christmas party. I'd be standing there at some Christmas party, like having a drink, and be like, oh, that guy could do this for me. She could do that. And they're just like, hey. And you're like, they want no fucking part.
Right.
But fuck them. Then you flip it on them.
Yeah.
You got to flip it on them.
Yeah.
You got anything else?
No, that's it. Paul, where can we catch you, man?
So you can check out my podcast, The Virzi Effect, also, which is with All Things Comedy. I'm touring right now this weekend. When this comes out soon, I guess?
Next Thursday, yeah.
Okay, next Thursday, so it won't be my shows this week. So yeah, I guess the next thing will be Gotham Comedy Club, September 27th, 2 shows, September 28th, 2 shows. Then after that, I'm at the Funny Bone in Syracuse. You can check out all my dates. I'll be at the Houston Improv. You can check out all my dates on paulvirzi.com and catch me on all the social media. Thanks dude, this was great.
We really appreciate you, man.
Had a great
what
time
a
with you, bro.
phenomenally interesting.
And listen, dude, and I'm serious what I say, dude. You'll fucking grow this podcast and you'll be like, I can't believe I even fucking stressed. I made a fucking mistake. I made a mistake. And you know what? I'm going to turn that mistake into my fucking empire of my podcast that's going to blow the fuck up. That's it.
Let's go.
Let's fucking go.
I'm ready.
Yeah,
I'm famous now. Not yet. I got work to do. No.
I love that. Not yet.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Paul
thanks for having
Virzi.
me, man.
Appreciate you very much.
No worries.
Always a pleasure, man.
See you guys next week.